Hello and good morning and good afternoon and even good evening. Welcome everyone to this new Sinovoltaics webinar about the very exciting topic of on-site EL testing at PV power plants. I'm actually very excited to see that we have more than 300 subscribers for today's webinar from more than 50 jurisdictions across this planet. So we have participants from Chile, from Singapore, India, Saudi Arabia, Poland, Austria, Qatar, Malaysia, the Bahamas, Finland, Algeria, and many more. For today's webinar, like usual, we aim to keep it within 1 hour with about 35 to 40 minutes of presentations, and then 50 minutes of Q&A at the end. And we highly encourage you to participate in the Q&A and ask any questions that you may have. And there's no bad questions. You can type your question here in the chat box, and we see those questions, and then we will try to answer as many of them as possible. Now, let me introduce you to our guest speaker today, which is Dr. Yan Wang, co-founder and CEO of our partner QLabs in Singapore. Yan has more than 15 years of experience in the solar PV industry under his belt. And before setting up QLabs, he was in charge of the PV module cluster at the very famous series in Singapore. And he was also a research fellow at the National University of Singapore. I'm personally very happy that Yan could make it today to join us for this month's edition of our webinar series. So Yan, a very warm welcome to you.
Thank you, Niklas.
Then a bit about myself. My name is Niklas Weimer. I'm today's host, and I will also do a brief introductory presentation about on-site EL imaging at PV power plants. I am one of the founders of Sinovoltaics and currently acting as the CTO. I'm based out of Hong Kong, and for those that are joining us here for the first time, allow me to quickly explain what Sinovoltaics does. So Sinovoltaics specializes in technical risk management of solar PV and battery energy storage equipment. We are best known for performing factory audits, quality inspections of PV and BESS equipment destined for power plants all over the world, as well as for ESG and traceability services at the factories in the Asia-Pacific region. And these are delivered by a team of PV and BESS technology specialized and accredited auditors and quality engineers, all based near the PV and BESS factories here in East and Southeast Asia, India, Turkey, and now also North America. Now, without further ado, let us peer straight into the modules of a PV power plant via EL imaging. And I will start first with a brief background and also methodologies of small-scale EL imaging at PV power plants before Yan will expand on mass-scale applications and methodologies. So to start with, how does on-site, or you can also call it in situ, EL imaging at the power plant align with EL imaging at the factories in the PV project cycle? Now, it's only been like, roughly 10 years that EL imaging has somehow or somewhat increasingly become a standard, or let's say a pretty common quality control item during mass production of PV modules at almost any module assembly line, which is unlike in the earlier days, even when at the factories, the focus was more on visual inspection and IB measurement and some electrical safety checks here and there only. So that also meant that there are not, or if at all, only limited EL image data sets available for many, if not most, of the early PV power plants that were constructed. And while EL imaging is nowadays a cornerstone of proper quality control, allowing us to peer inside the cell and identify potential quality issues such as microcracks and cell breakages and loose solders that can impair the performance of a module. And also, despite EL imaging technologies having enormously improved, still there are many projects here and there when there's no thorough EL imaging performed, or where there's no data set acquired or being kept. So this brings us actually to the topic of why we do on-site EL imaging. Now, common examples of applications for on-site EL imaging at power plants include, so for existing plants, maintenance and degradation testing, troubleshooting, so troubleshooting testing when some issues have been identified and basically operators want to find out what exactly they are. And also quite a common and I would say major application is for acquisitions of existing power plants, including repowering projects. And then you have also newly built power plants. And for these cases, like EL imaging can, for example, be part of a commissioning testing program, or for the purpose of having a full set of module data, including from pre-shipment to post-shipment, either directly or after, so directly after container unloading or after installation. And such comprehensive FAT and SAT phase testing, so combined testing basically, can come in handy basically in the event of quality disputes, and it helps to narrow down the origin of quality issues. Now, how is such on-site EL imaging actually carried out? And this brings us also to the topic of today's webinar. It very much depends on your testing setup and scope. Basically, whether it's just a few pallets of modules fresh from the container, an existing small rooftop installation of a few or dozens of kilowatts, or ground-mounted utility scale 300 megawatt power plant. So it used to be in the earlier days that people would walk into a power plant and doing here and there some visual checks, connection checks, thermal imaging with a portable device. And then with the increasing popularity of EL imaging as a reliable quality control item, so to see what's going on the cell level, the first portable EL testing kits also came out. So how does small scale EL imaging with such classic, I would say, portable kits work? So if you, after pre-planning of the testing scope of work, so you figured out your plant and the basically workload that needs to be done, then basically you make sure that there is sufficient external power sources to power the test equipment, having also sufficient support on site for the disconnection and connection of modules or string of modules and the equipment, and then the testing work could essentially start. Testing outdoors would generally be performed during nighttime, and for single, basically, so for single not installed modules from pallets, this would normally be done for example, in a building nearby, and then they would be covered by black cloth. The portable EL testing kits generally consist of following items. So you put it here on the slide. It's a portable EL camera itself, then also a tripod. You can also see that here on the image, and so to basically ensure that the image quality is, that you don't have blurry images, and also a DC power supply unit, either for single modules or even for whole strings of modules. So to feed basic current back to the modules at night. And these power supply units, normally they would be powered by, of course, an external power source, which can be in form, for example, of a diesel generator. Now, when measuring installed PV modules, and depending on the tilt and angle of the installed modules, additional equipment, such as in form of a platform to capture the modules from a more perpendicular angle, or modules in the upper string, basically, can be used in the event you use such portable EL testing kits. Then when you move from one module to another, or from one string to another, the respective module or string has to be disconnected and then reconnected, and the new ones have to be reconnected. So you can already see this is quite a tedious process. Now, here you can also see some examples of EL images captured with such a portable equipment. Actually, this one, naturally, with such a small portable EL testers, the possible scope of testing has also been quite limited. So unless you employ a large team with multiple EL testers, so that you can measure massive quantities of modules in a utility scale power plant, and basically with EL imaging speeds of, could say 200 to 300 modules per equipment and team per night, it would end up being too cost prohibitive to approach such large scale or mass scale projects with these portable kits. Therefore, the usage of the portable EL kits that you have just seen in the previous slide is usually confined to small scale testing scopes. For example, for small installations or measurement of select quantity of samples or post-arrival checks of sampled pellets. And here, so that's now the intended slide for what I want to mention here is there's also some examples from Sinovoltaics PV plant inspection work that shows what testing using such portable EL kits can look like. Obviously, with the earlier mentioned lack of comprehensive EL quality data, there's also a strong inclination to carry out mass scale EL imaging. So it means basically, like it's done basically at the factory level, right? Where you have multiple, basically, almost all assembly lines basically carrying out EL testing on all the modules. And this is especially crucial when the plant is being acquired and there's lack of quality data about that plant. So with the arrival of the mass market commercialization of drones, for example, thermal imaging has become quickly one of the most common test items that you can see nowadays in utility scale power plants. It is a relatively fast and cost efficient method, and provides for a general macro overview of what is going on in the plant. So you potentially miss out on quite some defects that are not, of course, visible via infrared thermography. So the nitty-gritty of inherent cell level issues can best only be identified with EL imaging. It is therefore no surprise that in the recent years, work has been done to enable mass scale EL imaging with drones, flying over your plant and being able to capture EL data of thousands of modules in a single measurement exercise on a single night is possible. And with this, I would like to pass the microphone to Dr. Yan Wan from QA Labs. Yan, please continue.
Yeah, thanks, Nicholas. A nice overview about the EL technology. So let me share from my laptop. Sorry. Can you see my laptop? Can you see my presentation? Hello, Niklas. Yeah, that's great. Okay, good afternoon, good morning to everyone who attend this webinar. I'm today give you an overview about the autonomous drone EL mapping technology that had developed by Quantified Energy Labs. We firmly believe this is a no-brainer choice for the solar assets owners. Quantified Energy Labs was founded by a group of senior research fellows from the Solar Energy Research Institute of Singapore. Myself, I'm Wang Yan. I'm the CEO of the company that driven the application of the drone EL. And a lot of work has been completed by my colleagues, our COO, Yun Sheng, who was the research group head for new solar module technologies. And the main inventor for the drone EL is Dr. Kyle Bedridge. He's our CTO, and he has focused on the EL technology for more than a decade. And we have Mr. Chai Jing, who sits in China, that's serving the domestic need. Our diverse background has combined together and delivered the innovation technologies. So for solar, for decades, we know that a solar industry, we have a common issue, which is over degradation for the solar system performance. And based on a recent research publication from NRO, the national lab from US, we see that they have the statics data showing the performance loss rate distribution. The median value falls nicely along with the LCOE calculation, which is 0.75% per year. But unfortunately, there are a large portion of the system which falls on the left side of the median value that showed higher degradation. Of course, this will be reduce your return of investment. And there are so many reasons causing this over degradation. For example, the improper right system design that you have shading on the array, or improper the O&M activities that not timely remove the dust, for example. Of course, there's equipment, malfunction equipment is a big contribution to this over degradation. As the main equipment that convert the sunlight into electricity, the solar panel, the PV module, it's a major reason. It's a major equipment that we must take a deep look into. And according to the IEA Performance and Reliability Photovoltaic System Research Group in the Task 13, IEA PVPS, it showed that along the lifespan of the solar panel, there are quite a number of defect mechanisms that can reduce the performance of the solar panel. And these defects must be timely identified and to adjust its performance, which is potentially affect the overall system energy yield, and must be timely replace the worst panel. So this is why we need an inspection solution for the solar panel. So for many years, that proactive PV module quality management has become a routine in our solar PV industry. It starts from pre-production, and then every product shall have IEC certificates. And during the production, there's a third parties to do the factory audit to make sure that the product being produced in the recipe. Before the shipment, all the panels shall at least undergone one time of the EL and IV test. Sometimes there's a sampling test to be happening in a third-party lab until the container loaded for shipping. This will be 100% of the module tested to exclude any defect panels from the delivery. But then going to the field, we see that the situation had been completely changed. There's a sampling EL test after the module arrived, but unfortunately, there's very few modules have been tested in the post-installation phase. For example, we know that there are random EL tests may happen, may be applied to verify the installation quality after PV module put it on the rack. And the most common used technology for COD testing and commissioning is the string IV scan or the drone thermography. And the EL may be chosen to verify the thermal abnormality module only, but then carry on to the 25 years O&M. There are very random cases that you would think about to use the EL. And we see this is the gap in our industry. And our colleagues from Sinovoltaics have done a great job that cover the risk from the production to the shipment. And at QE Labs, we are focusing on the modules that are being installed on the rack, and we do focus on the field inspections. EL is the golden standard quality control testing for our industry. You can see that this equipment for inline EL is almost standard way that to do to check the internal defects of PV module. But then if you look at the current technology for the field PV module testing as summarized by Nicholas in his presentation. So if you extended use the EL, then most of the time it's a manual inspection, which is too slow and inefficient for large-scale solar farm inspection. And there are automatic solutions available, for example, using the drone thermography, but this is also sometimes inaccurate because the thermal doesn't reflect all the internal defects. So as a result, insufficient quality control in the solar farm sometimes resulting in a big financial loss. So address this challenge, and at QE Labs, we have developed this innovative autonomous drone EL mapping solution, which is a blend of innovative hardware, the drone, the camera, and also a special software that dedicated for maximize the EL inspection throughput. And then it's supported by AI-driven and quantitative analysis algorithm for big data processing. And all the data will be eventually hosted on a digital twin system that for data visualization to accurately locate the defect panels. So here I show some video about the actual work. For example, this video is showing our on-site EL inspection with the drone. One colleague sitting here to do the DC current switching. He has an external DC unit. When the current in, the modules are becoming a LED and emit light. The second gentleman is the pilot. He controls the drone and flying from one side to the other side of the string and do a continuously scanning. So when he complete inspection of the one string, and then the technician just switch the DC to the next string according to the testing plan. And then our pilot just repeat the scanning process until end of this string. So assuming that each of the string composed of 30 modules, and this video is about 70 seconds, and the roughly speed is about one module per second. So it's it's a very fast inspection. So our highest inspection throughput is so far is 15,000 modules per 8 hours night shift. So the reason we can achieve this high throughput because the team has developed this special app. As you can see here, it's running on a Android phone. On the left is the field of view that the drone can see. It's one string of the module. and the drone is flying from home position just now to the start point of a string that to be tested. So before the testing, we need input of the system layout as the base map. So during the scanning, you see that the drone is continuing. It's an EL video. Most importantly, our pilot doesn't control the drone. So you see his fingers is not on the joystick. The drone is flying by itself. This means that with a basic training, also anyone can easily use this app associated with our special hardware that he can carry on the inspection. So this is also guarantee the embedded quality control for the results we can capture with the drone. So for more details, you can refer to my colleague's oral presentation at the PV reliability workshop in 2021. So the third step is processing the large amount of data captured from the field. And we use the AI for feature detection to pinpoint the location of the defects such as crack or dark cells. And we also run the quantum analysis algorithm to estimate the power loss of the module. The last step is the data visualization. So, I strongly recommend if you have time, you are interested, please feel free to go to our website, which is dashboard.qe/labs.com, and to register a demo user so that you can experience the power of EL inspection. So I show some equipment we have. So here is comes the first generation drone EL equipment we have that is released in May 2022 at Intersolar. So this is a customized drone and an in-house developed camera that attached to the drone through a gimbal. And we have a DC power supply with the switch boxes. And this drone is serving, has done a great job for us. It's our working horse. But now we are going to release the second generation in the Intersolar this year. It's becoming an all-in-one drone inspection. And here is our booth at C4.553. If you are interested, please come to our booth during the Intersolar. So some details about the current injection, because this is sometimes the first question come to us. There's a argument that to disconnect the cables from the string inverter or do the cabling for current injection it's a lot of labor work and complicated. But based on our experience, it can be really a fast process. For example, here showing that we are using a DC power supply from a manufacturer in Netherlands. The input is a three-phase power that normally we run it a diesel generator with a vehicle that bring it along the main road from station to station. And the output of this DC unit is up to 10 amp at 1,500 volts for one string inspection. So normally we set the current injection into 8 amp, which is close to 80% of the IC, and doesn't affect anything to the module during the inspection. So this will be sent to the site. If the system installed a string combiner box like this, so what we are doing is we use two clamps as the output from the DC, and then use it clamp to the DC bus bar, the string bus bar in the combiner box. So, and then next we just pull out all the fuses and then push one back to form a connection of this string from the DC power supply for the testing. Once it's done, we turn off the DC, pull out the fuse, push the next one, and turn on the equipment, and then just repeat. So this is very, very efficient way for the inspection. Another setup, if the system are installed the string inverters like this, so what we need to do is to pull out all the string MC4 connectors and connect it with a special cable to our switch equipment. And this switch equipment can automatically do the switching from channel 1 to channel 20. And then the drone just need to continue flying and without any landing during the inspection. So we normally send 2 sets of the equipment, one switch box to be used for this string inverter, while the other group use another equipment to set up the next one. So this can continue or seamlessly continue the whole inspection. We have conducted the survey since 2022 after the COVID ban lifted, and some notable projects including 60 megawatt floating PV in Singapore. We have done this for Sembcorp and has been acknowledged in their price release. And we also have conducted 200 megawatts solar farm inspection in Australia and featured in the PV Magazine website. And these super large utility scale solar farm experience have demonstrated the technology is mature for dealing with big projects. So far, we have conducted EL measured over 1 million pieces of panel, and this number is rising quickly. And these are used to mainly de-risk the effects on return of investment due to over-degradation of PV panels. The drone EL technology was instrumentally important for the critical milestone inspections. For example, this is for the day 0 COD inspection or before the EPC warranty expiring, we'll call it DLP. Or in the earlier phase of the time, around year 5, when you consider the preventive and corrective maintenance, if there's a over-degradation and suspect the module over-degradation is the reason, or we have sometimes respond to the force majeure events like the natural disaster, or supporting the asset transaction to do the due diligence. And then lastly, before the product warranty expiring, we can do the revamping and repowering of the system. So these are the 5 classic use cases for the drone EL technology. And in today's presentation, I'm sharing our case studies for the pre-COD warranty claim and insurance claims. Recently, the scale and the magnitude and also the frequency of natural disasters is getting severe. And for example, this video I just received yesterday, it showed a super large solar farm get hailstorm damaged. This was happening just last week. Other times we are also dealing strong winds like sandstorm in the desert, or typhoon or tornado. And you can see from this video that the module are completely broken. So these are the natural disasters are happening right now as the highest risk to the solar investment. So the question is, how are we dealing with the situation? How to judge the surviving modules quality? So here I show the case study. And in this small project, we do the visual imaging and only found few modules have the shattered glass. But if you do the EL mapping, besides this shattered glass, we saw that some of the modules have shown dark cells. When we continue zooming, this is the classic level details of our EL image captured by the drone. You can see that there are cracks inside the module, and these features are nicely captured by our AI. So the next, after inspection, we do the counting of how many solar cells inside the panel have these defects, and can adjust this number according to the insurance policies threshold number. And then we can draw the distribution. For example, in this particular project, the magic number is 3 cells. And if there are 3 solar cells has cracks, and then the insurance company will give you a replacement. So this is how we help the asset owner to counting how many modules can be claimed beyond the visual damage. So we also use the technology for super large utility scale projects, and we propose these 3 steps working for such a situation. So it's starting from counting of the visual damages, And then the step 2 is do a sample EL image of the surviving modules according to the AKL table, then to determine whether the remaining module at the site can be continual operation. And then the third step is after rebuild the system, because either you buy the new modules to fill the void to replace the damaged module, or you relocate of the old module to a zone and then rebuild the system. So you always need a full site or mass EL inspection to justify whether the remaining panels are still in good condition. And this is critical for to negotiate with the vendor that whether your old modules still valid for the warranty claim, warranty coverage. So this is our experience, and we are working on a white paper to address this issue. The second use case is low performance evacuation and warranty claims. So modules can be damaged by the external force that reduce your system performance. It also can that have aging effect or some fault, some defects that reduce the performance, reduce output of that panel, and this should be going to this category of warranty claim. So we did one project like this. We draw the EL map. You can visually see that there are modules with duct cells and distributed across the whole solar farm. And the panels, if we zoom in, we saw it looks like this. So there's a lot of duct cells. Then the question is for warranty claim. Most of the time, according to your clause, that power loss is the key number that to justify how much percent of the power has dropped compared to the name value. To support our clients, and we did here I shared the case study too, that we have correlated the EL image data analytics with the STC AV test result in the lab, and to estimate power loss of each panels installed on the site. So we defined that the first step is that we defined a quantitative score based on the EL image that is called uniformity score. And it's calculated based on the brightness or darkness and the intensity deviation of the solar cells across the module. If the number is 0, we know that it's the worst panel that's completely dead. If it's 100%, is 100, that means the whole panel is in good condition. Then we got the scores for each panel, and then we can draw the distribution like this of the whole modules installed on the site. Then the last step is we select samples from different score and send to a third party's lab to do a lab testing, check how much percent of the power has been lost compared to the name value. What amazing is that we can correlate the EL score with a set power loss measurement. And then probably from this case that we can see that either 20 or 25, below that, probably this module have some issue. And then we can use this correlation and come back to the statistics to filter out how many panels are having suspected have higher degradation, and then use the dashboard. I just need to filter according to the uniformity score, and all the modules are below 20 and can be visualized on the map, so that the O&M engineers now having a tool that can locate the worst panels and can easily to do a replacement. So this is a very useful in case of low performance investigation. So the use case 3 is a new system pre-COD or DLP testing, and we found this is more important because a clear baseline data set is essential to compare with the future measurements. Either you in insurance claim, you need to prove that this feature are happening associated with that disaster, or you have to show that this over degradation that caused by this manufacturing issue are really happening in day 0. So that's why we are suggesting to consider the EL as part of the testing for COD test. Right now, it's most commonly doing the IEC 62446-1 for string IV, -3 for the drone IR. The good news is IEC committee has recognized this need and working on a new series of drone on-site EL, which is -4 of this series in IEC standards. So here I show the case study 3. For one COD testing project, we have done the EL map. According to the fail and pass criteria, we found so many modules has been failed. And the module's defect at this site is showing, it looks like this, a lot of cracks at the edge of the panel. And we try to explain, to understand why it's happening, and the distribution of this defect panel on the map draw us attention. It's showing that it's always like a line. You see here, the distribution is like a line. So this is indicate, might be this is causing by someone walking on the panel. He thought that walking on the edge of the panel and should be safe. And so he just walking this direction. But unfortunately, this is not true. It's already causing a lot of damage. And these modules must be replaced once you found this issue. So this is for COD testing. And then another case study is that recently UNSW researchers have announced a new defect feature like this module. They call it yin-yang. And actually we found this since a long time ago, and we call it a bright spot. So far, this is happening. This phenomenon has no scientific explanation to that. But when we do the inspection, we use this dashboard to filter out where are the locations of this kind of future defect panels. Surprisingly, it showed that it is clustered in a certain region of the module of the system, and this suggesting that this kind of defect may be a manufacturing issue and from that batch of deliveries. And this is the use case for the EL technology, mass EL. So because you can now see a small scale and now expanding to the whole site based on distribution, we can justify, we can explain what is happening. For this site, it triggers our future works plan, because we need to verify that the module are really manufacturing issue, and we need to see what's happening from the factory. And this triggered our future works. We will connect the on-site set acceptance test EL map with the factory acceptance test EL database through the ID mapping of the ISBuild system. Every solar panel has this barcode in the front, in the back, and there are nowadays it's very popular to do an ID scan of the solar farms by end of the EPC phase. And what we need to do is now we use this ID mapping to connect the two parties, and now we can connect the factory data day 0 at COD and day X in the future. For example, this module, we saw that a bus bar soldering issue eventually is turned into a severe substring mismatch. That this substring just completely gone. We don't know whether this soldering issue are coming from the factory. If we have the ID mapping, now next we can understand completely. So this is the technique for next phase to form a holistic quality control package. So here showing that the drone EL nowadays is available with our partners in the countries in marketing green, for example, US, Europe, China, Southeast Asia, and Australia. And now we are running a roadshow for Malaysia, South Korea, Germany, Japan, USA, India from April to September. So if you are interested, please contact us to reserve a slot for your project. Or if you're interested, bring the technology into your country, then just feel free to email us. Lastly, I want to show some fun images, fun photos of our on-site work. So the drone EL can be, not really relaxed work. For example, the pilot can sit on the chair, control the drone with the RC, and then the rest work will be smoothly running. Sometimes it's becoming a boring job because the drone is really smooth. But what we need to pay more attention is the raining situation. So sometimes when there's a rain, we need to build a shelter to protect our equipment. And a beauty of this work is that we're traveling all around the world, and sometimes we see lovely creatures lovely animals in the solar farm. For example, this one in Australia. During the time we set up our equipment, we got a visitor, and yeah, he's might be running, want to join us later. Yep. Thank you very much. That's all I can sharing for today's webinar. And here is my email address. If you are interested, please email us. Thank you very much. Thanks for your attention.
Right. Yeah, Ian, thank you very much for this excellent presentation, and yeah, very insightful and very also detailed the whole process, and yeah, up to basically your visitors basically that you had in Australia during your lecture.
Yeah.
So we move now to the Q&A part of our webinar. So if you have any questions, please type them in the chat box on the right side, and so we'll try to answer as many as possible during the given time. So let us see what we have here. Okay, there's one question that came. Yeah, it's actually a good question here. Is there any acceptable international standard for EL testing results to compare, evaluate? Jan, maybe you.
In one slide of my presentation, I showed that there are two standards. One is IEC 60904-13, which is published in 2018. That is the guideline for indoor EL testing. And the IEC community now is working on the new standard that's 62446-4, which is aiming for on-site or field EL inspection. Sincerely hope the working group can get this new standard published soon, so that everyone from the solar community can benefit to have an international standard to follow up.
Yeah, there's actually quite a recent development, this new standard for outdoor imaging. And yeah, over the many years, it's so there is actually another IEC TS standard available for electroluminescence imaging, but specifically to the topic of like criteria. So yeah, there's still much work to be done. So there's a multitude of standards. So hopefully with that also with that new standard there will be more something more concrete and comparable. Now, next question is here: do the panels have to be 0 degrees to do this? Yep.
Not necessary. The drone has a gimbal that can adjust the angle of the camera. So as long as your normal installation title, then it's fine.
Great. So next question is, thanks for the excellent presentation. What's the resolution of the EL imaging when taking from the drone? Can you see micro cracks? And also, can you do your EL under the full moon?
Well, under the full moon, it's possible. We have a filter in front of our camera that can remove the ambient light. So this is not an issue. QLabs is using a high resolution in-gas camera. So this is the most sensitive sensor for crystalline silicon EL signal, which is centered at 1150 nanometer. And resolution is just one parameter for the image. And in the end, we need to see how how good is the image processed and how it captured. So it's a little bit complex issue rather than just look at the resolution itself. But yes, our EL image clearly captured all the tiny micro cracks from the drone.
All right. Here's another question. It comes from one of the participants, which is, what are the conditions under which the inspection can be executed, like no rain, maximum environmental light, maximum wind force?
Rain is definitely a big issue. We are using a DC power supply or the electronic equipment that is not waterproof. So as long as there's rain, we stop. Other situations, if it's too cold, it's not suggested. It's not friendly to our operators. If it's strong, it's too strong wind, and we also stop, not because of the ER inspection, but because of the drone cannot flying stabilized during that strong wind condition. So yeah, good question. We will, if you email me, I will give you a list of clear conditions that cannot fly the drone.
Right.
But most of the time, if there's no rain, we do our field inspections.
Right. There's many questions. Okay, here's another one. Is it the video capturing or image capturing? If image, then what's the exposure time? And is it maintained while doing EL testing through drone?
Well, this is indeed a great question. Thanks. Back to a few years ago, when we look into how which technology to use for the drone EL, we realized that if there are two options, one is modified CMOS camera, another one is InGaAs camera. So the InGaAs camera is lower resolution and very expensive equipment, but it provides the highest quantitative efficiency for capturing the ER signal from the silicon. On the other hand, using a CMOS is higher resolution, but you need long exposure time. My colleagues has published a paper together with UNSW researchers. In that publication, we summarize all the possible PL, EL techniques for the field inspection. And I remember there's a table to summarize the result. Using the InGaAs camera like us to do the nighttime EL, the exposure time is just milliseconds. But for other technology, using CMOS camera, it can up to 1 second or 2 seconds. That is why using the InGaAs camera, we are possibly to do a faster scan with the drone, and the drone can fly up to 3 or 4 meters per second, but still can capture a good quality of the image. Yeah, I think that's the answer to the question. Yeah.
Another, I think also important questions is about like, are there any regulations required before performing a drone inspection? And if you have specific rules for a particular country, sharing them would be helpful.
So this is why we're working closely with our partners in the country. Our partners will handling the drone registration, apply a permit, hiring or appointing a certified drone pilot for the project. And for QE Labs, we enable our partners with the technology, with the drone EL technology, the equipment, the app, but we are focusing on back-end data processing to support our clients, our partners, our clients in managing their solar farms. So yes, there are some restrictions, but it's manageable through our local partners.
All right. Here's a question that came with regards to the case study. How long it took you to test the 200 megawatts of solar farm in Australia? Thanks.
Let's assuming such a utility scale solar farm is a single access tracker, 1P system, and about 500 megawatt, 500 watt per module, which is 2,000. For 200 megawatt, that is 400,000 piece of panels. Our average speed of the drone for inspection is 15,000. And with a single drone that we need 4 weeks. And if I deliver 2 drones or 4 drones, it can be 1 week field inspection completed is possible.
Which is awesome. I mean, it's very fast.
Yeah, the drone is now becoming cheap, so it's not a resources is no, it's not a limit anymore.
Right. Yeah. So many questions. So yeah, let's see how many we can handle still. What are some typical challenges for drone EL on large-scale floating PV farms, noting the dynamic nature of floating installations?
We love floating solar farm. We have done the 60 megawatt floating for Sembcorp in Singapore. Actually, this is our first large-scale project. Well, the solar farm, the floating solar farm is normally designed in a very regular geometry layout, and I don't see any big problems for inspection based on our experience. The only thing you need to pay attention that you need building a landing platform close to the module arrays, because the drone cannot flying too far away from the RC and to landing on the ground. So we always suggest the drone should landing on the floating platform. So this is the only thing you need to take care.
Okay. So I think we have time for 2 more questions. Oh wow. So yes. Here we have a question. So can it be, it was referring to actually the drone solution, can it be used as acceptance test for EPC? And how do we set the criteria? It was also back to the original question.
Yes, we are working with, this is possible. We already have EPC, we already have developers who specifically require a full site EL inspection as a technique specification for their EPC project, and EPC company is following that specification. So I see it's manageable. You just need to agree on fail and pass criteria between the 2 parties, and certainly we can give you a default version and helping on set up the baseline. So please feel free to contact us. We can give you a draft for that.
Okay, and so then we have time for one more question.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also related to quality criteria. Maybe also related to your earlier presentation. So how to quantify or predict the power loss in one string from different EL cell defects, which is a tricky one, but
yeah, it's a tricky one. So it looks simple, but it's a hard job. So so far we can successfully predict the power loss based on uniformity scores if the shunted cell is a major issue, so-called the black cells in the module. If it's a crack or other features, we are working on defining the second score, which called integrity. That is the density of the features that detected by the AI. And we are working hard on correlate that new score with the performance. Once it's done, and we think we will have a complete solution to predict a power loss for all kinds of the defects. So far, our homework have done 60%.
Which is massive, because it's one of the, I mean, getting back also to the earlier questions, with so many EL standards, you know, in the industry, from manufacturers and from, of course, from different bodies that also execute testing. So there's a huge variety still that, yeah, it shows how complicated the topic is. So 60% done is already a big leap.
Thanks.
All right, yeah, we are at the end of our webinar. And first of all, I would like to thank our guest speaker, Dr. Yan Wang from QE Labs, that he joined us today for this webinar and for his very interesting presentation. And we will have the recording of this webinar available, soon after, so you can watch it again. And for any remaining questions, we'll also be in touch. So yeah, thank you, everyone. You see also here our contact details, so feel free to reach out, and any more questions, glad to answer. And again, without further ado, I would like to thank everybody to join today's webinar, and see you again next time.
Thank you. See you. Have a nice day. Bye.
Have a nice day, everyone. Bye-bye.